in bankruptcy is the estate. The estate is all of the assets that the debtor has at the commencement of the case. Then you need to consider which of these assets can be used to pay back the creditors and which cannot be used to pay back the creditors. So the estate includes all legal and equitable property interests of the debtor in the property at the time of the commencement. It also includes a 180-day look-back period. So it's one of the trustees' jobs to make sure they have all of the assets that should be in the estate accounted for. This includes looking back for 180 days to see if there were any transfers that were either not for value or not for full value. Sometimes a debtor might do this on purpose. Maybe they transfer property to a niece or a cousin in order to try to hide that property from the bankruptcy estate. Sometimes it's not intentional. Sometimes they are trying to avoid bankruptcy, so they sell off some things, but maybe in a quick sale they sell it for less than its actual value. In either of these cases, the bankruptcy trustee can undo any sales that have happened in the last 6 months. Another thing that a bankruptcy trustee will do to make sure that all of the assets are included in the estate is to review those schedules that we talked about in the previous petition and make sure everything was really addressed. We had a very famous bankruptcy in Washington where a real estate developer amassed $250 million in assets, pretty good, but they also managed to amass $580 million in debt, pretty bad. So the creditors eventually forced him into bankruptcy. He did almost all the things he was supposed to do, filed his petition, listed all of his assets, almost all of his assets. What he didn't list was his wife's jewelry. She must have really, really loved that jewelry because he didn't include it. The trustee was very diligent, did their job, did exactly what they were supposed to do, and found it and said, hey, you guys need to include this jewelry. So they could have amended their petition, turned over the jewelry. They went another way. They actually fled. They were being chased by FBI and US Marshals. You literally can't make this stuff up. This actually happened. They got out of the country. They made it to France. They were living in a small village in France for years. In my mind's eye, she was walking around with all of her $5 million worth of jewels every single day in this little village. Probably not, but that's how I think of it. They were eventually caught many years later, and at this point, the French government said, we'll take the jewels, we want the creditors to get paid off, but we're not going to extradite these people. They're old, they can continue living here. Last I heard, they are still living in that little village in France.